Hey guys, it's the Quarantine Cuber, and today I'm going to be sharing all of my PLL algorithms and how I predict their AUFs. So essentially, a while back, I created a video and posted it about all of my PLL algorithms and how I finger trick them. And since then, a lot of them have changed. Most notably my JA perm and my GD perm. So what I'm going to be doing today is sharing my updated list of PLL algorithms and also how I predict their AUFs, since that can be important for a smooth continuation from PLL into stopping the timer without having a pause for AUFs. So let's start with the all corners solved cases. So these are the cases where it's only a edge cycle, so the UA, UB, H, and Z perms. Starting with the UA perm, which is the one that goes counterclockwise, if you hold it at the front, and a reverse flick here, a push for M, double flick, and the way I predict the AUF for the UA perm is the headlights stay in place. Also, this big bar at the back doesn't move. So it's essentially only the edges cycling, so none of the corners move. So if I hold it from this angle, for example, I know I'm going to have a U prime AUF, so I can just easily continue on. This is the UB perm, the one where the edges cycle clockwise. And my alg is pretty similar for this. U prime instead of U, and then again the M push, double flick, and the rest is pretty simple. And the way I predict the AUF for this is the same as the UA perm, with all the headlights and the bar at the back are saved, so I'm not going to go in depth into that. And this is the H perm. This is one where the opposite edges swap, so these two swap and these two swap. I use the standard algorithm for this, so M2 double flick here, and U prime, another double flick, and the rest is the same as the start. And again for this one, an easy way to predict the AUF is that all the headlights, again, will remain in the same spot. So, for example, if I get it from this angle or this angle, I know that I just need to align all the headlights, so like this. So last up in this category is the Z perm, where the two sets of adjacent edges have to swap. The way I do this is by holding one of the sets that have to swap on the front and right, and doing this algorithm. Double flick there, and another double flick there, M prime with the middle finger, and double flick. The way I predict the AUF for this is in two ways. All the headlights move over by U prime, and this edge stay in place. So as you can see, once I do the algorithm, see how green was in the front and now it's on the right side. So if the headlights are aligned to start, I know I'm going to have to do a U AUF to finish, and when you get a U AUF, you want to do it with a reverse flick, since you would have just done a double flick and your finger will already be in the correct position to do a reverse flick. Next up, moving on to the all edges solved cases. So this is where, as implied, all of the edges are solved and the corners have to move. Starting with the AA perm, this is where the diagonally permuted corner is on the front left and the headlights are on the back. So I do the lefty version of the standard algorithm, which goes like this. Keep rotation upwards, and then D2 double flick, I do it with ring finger and middle finger. Ring, middle, and L2. And now on to the AB perm. This is where the diagonally permuted corner is on the back right and the headlights are on the left side. And I again do the lefty version of the standard algorithm. So again, starts rotation upwards and a D2 double flick with ring and middle. Again, ring, middle, and the rest should be obvious. And the way I predict the AUF for both the A perms is that the big block over here and the two edges will stay in place. So here I can predict that will be a UAUF, and just another finger trick thing for the AUFs. Once I'm done doing the PLL, for the UAUF, you either want to do a push like that or a flick like that, so that you don't have to regrip to do the U move. Moving on to the E perm, this is where two sets of two corners need to swap adjacently. You can also get it from this angle where two corners are solved, two diagonal corners need to swap, and there's a cycle of 4 edges. The way I solve this case is just the standard algorithm. So first start with a rotation upwards, and then and a push there, and another push there. And another AUF thing. So the way I predict the AUF is all of these edges will stay in place. And if it is a U prime AUF, to avoid having to regrip to do a U prime move, what you want to do is after finishing the algorithm, you just want to do a reverse push with your right hand index finger so that you don't have to regrip to do a U prime. Now moving on to the adjacent corner swap cases. This is the RA perm with the block on the front, the headlights will be on the left. The way I do this one is a pitch turn here, double flick and double flick with opposite hands, and I'm going to call this a separated double flick, and another double flick. And the way I predict the AUF for this is that this block will move over by AU, and also this corner will stay in place. So once I finish the algorithm, if it is a U prime AUF, you want to do a push because it'll take too long for your double flick fingers to reset again. For the RB perm, I recognize this with headlights on the front and a block on the left side. The way I do this one is the RUF algorithm with the headlights on the front. So it starts with a regrip to the top, like this. U2, U2 with opposite hands. Then a regrip while you're doing the U2. R prime, F, RU, R prime, U prime, a regrip on the U prime. And thumb F prime here. And the way I predict the AUF for this is that this edge will stay in place and that this block will move by a U move. So if we have a UAUF, which would mean the block is aligned like this, once I finish the algorithm, since your hand's on the bottom, you just do a reverse flick or a push to do the UAUF. Alright, next moving on to the J perms. This is the JA perm where the blocks that need to switch are on the right back and the front left. Sorry, left back and front left. So what I do is I hold the bar on the front and I do this. Right hand double flick and a pinch for this U prime. And faster it looks like this. And the way I predict the AUF is that this bar will move over by a U move. So right now I know it will be a U prime AUF, and if it's like this, it'll be no AUF, and if it's like this, it'll be a UAUF, because this will move over by a U, and another U is needed to finish it off. So for UAUF, there is an interesting finger trick that will make it faster. So once you finish the algorithm, instead of regripping to do a U, since you're already in this position, you can just do a pinch U to finish off the UAUF, or you can do a push or a reverse flick. So there are plenty of options for that. For the JA perm, I use the standard algorithm with R, U, and F moves. So it goes like this: pinch move here, thumb, and a separated double flick to end. And the way I predict the AUF is that this bar will stay in place. So once I do the J perm without an AUF, see how the red bar is here, and now it's a red side. So another interesting thing about AUFs is that if it's a U prime AUF, when you finish the algorithm, you can just do a double flick like that to finish it off. Now onto the T perm, which is just a rearranged J perm. So the finger tricks are pretty similar. So pinch here, and a separated double flick here, and you can do either a pinch or a reverse flick since your fingers are already here, and thumb to end it off. And an easy way to predict the AUF is that these bars and the headlights will stay in place. So essentially, if it's aligned, you won't have an AUF. And for a UAUF, once you finish the algorithm, you can either do a push this way, or what I find easier is just a finger drag straight into stopping the timer, because it's a smooth way to stop the timer after a T perm. And here's the F perm, which is, again, just to set up into T perm. So it's R prime, U prime, F prime. And you're in home grip now, so you do the T perm as normal. And instead of ending normally, it's R, U, R prime, and then a middle finger U and R. And a similar deal for the UAUF. If there's a UAUF, you either can do a pinch here, a push, a reverse flick, or a kind of finger drag if you're in the right position. And I predict the AUF because there is a 3-piece bar on the left side that doesn't move. Moving on to the V perm and the diagonal corner swaps. The V perm is essentially, there's a diagonal swap, and there is a pair of adjacent edges that need a swap. The way that I do that is R, U, R prime, U prime, and a rotation along with that. So I just turn the cube with my thumb, and thumb there, middle finger F, and thumb F. And as far as predicting the AUF goes, this whole block stays in place, as well as that corner if you get it from this angle. So if you're trying to go into a U prime AUF, so like this, once you're done with the algorithm, since your left hand is in an awkward position to do a U prime, you could do a finger drag, but I prefer to do a push that way to end the algorithm. This is the Y perm, which you can see by there being a set of diagonal corners here and a pair of edges that need to swap here. You could start this algorithm with a thumb F so it doesn't have a regrip, but I prefer to just regrip and use my first finger for an F. So it goes like this. Middle finger here, reverse flick or a pinch here, and F with my index finger, and then this OLL, which is just that. And faster. And I predict the AUF with these two blocks will stay in place. And if you have a UAUF, if you have a U prime AUF, so for example like this, once you finish the algorithm, since your left hand is not in a good position to do a U prime, you can just do a finger drag to end the algorithm. This is the NA perm with this block having to swap with this block. This is essentially a 4-move setup into J perm with these two blocks, so RU, R prime, U with middle finger, then J perm is normal, and U2 with the right hand, and insert this pair. And faster. And the way I predict the AUF for this is that these two blocks will stay in place. So if you have a U prime AUF, for example, once you finish the algorithm, I find it easiest to just do a middle finger U prime again to finish the algorithm off. So here's the NB perm. It is the opposite of the NA perm, where instead of these two blocks swapping, it's these two blocks. And I use a pretty unstandard algorithm for it because I can't find a really good algorithm anywhere, so I just use this one. It starts out pretty similar to the JA perm. And pinch turn here. And same thing again. Pinch turn here. And a U would be the AUF if the blocks are aligned. The way I predict the AUFs is that these two blocks will move by a U prime. They won't stay in place. And if there is a U prime AUF after you finish the algorithm, you can do a sort of either separated double flick or a continued push. So for example, like that. It's a bit janky because, again, this isn't the best algorithm, but it's pretty good. And now finally onto the G perms. This is the GA perm, where if you align the headlights, the block is on the front. And the way you do this is just the standard wide move algorithm. So I'll start with a regrip onto the front, a drag here, middle finger for the wide U prime, rotate, and insert the pair. And faster. The way I predict this AUF is that this block doesn't move, so if it's aligned, you won't have an AUF. And if there is a UAUF, for example, after this, you can do a separated double flick afterwards. For the GB perm, which is where if you have the headlights on the back, the block is in the same spot. And I just do the reverse of the previous algorithm. So like this. Sort of pinch turn there. Middle finger. Roll there. Middle finger here. And R2 downwards. And faster it looks like this. Again, the way I predict the AUF is that this block doesn't move. And if there is a UAUF, so the block is over here, once you complete the algorithm, you can just do a drag. This is the GC perm, where if you hold the headlights on the right side, the block is on the front left. I used to just do the mirror of the GA perm, but now I've changed my algorithm. So I start with a regrip onto the top. Right hand, left hand for the double flicks. and while you're doing the left hand double flick, you grip to home grip with your right hand, and F, and another F. And faster. And the way to predict the AUF for this is that this block will stay in place. So we see that there's a UAUF here since this block has to align to green after the algorithm. So once you finish the algorithm, since your thumb will be on top, you want to do either a reverse flick or a push like that to do the UAUF. And lastly, the GD perm. This is where if you hold the headlights on the left, you have the block on the right side. And the way you do this is the R, U, and D algorithm. So I do a pinch here and simultaneously U and D prime, R2, U prime, rolling R, U prime with the middle finger, then R prime, U, and the rest should be obvious. And faster. There are two ways I predict the AUF for this. One is that these headlights won't move, and two is that this block will move by a U prime, so it'll be back there. And the way I would do a AUF is like this. Once I finish the algorithm, then I would either just simultaneously do a U and D like this, or I do a push like that. So yeah, that's all my PLL algorithms and how I predict their AUFs. I hope you learned something from this video, and yeah. If you want to see more videos like this, click up here. If you want to see my latest video, click up here. And if you want to see the video that YouTube thinks you should watch next, click down here. As always, keep cubing at home, and see you next time.